schools all over India and several other countries of Asia and Africa. Hi, I'm Sashwati Sarkar, and you're watching TOI Eduthon. Welcome to the show. In this episode, we examine a typical modern paradox. Digital learning is indispensable, yet screens can erode sleep, eyesight, posture, and attention. How much exposure is educationally useful, and when does it tip into harm? We'll separate learning time from leisure time, share age wise limits that actually work, and offer simple, kind routines that families can start right away. For this very crucial discussion, we have with us today our distinguished panelists. Ms. Ramya Venkatraman, founder and CEO, Center for Teacher Accreditation Private Limited. The platform serves 2 million teachers across 1 lakh schools all over India and several other countries of Asia and Africa on certification, upskilling, and career growth. Ramya is among top 15 women transforming India by Niti Aayog and UN. She is profiled in the Peabody Journal of Education in the US and invited as guest faculty in a Harvard course on social entrepreneurship. We also have with us Dr. Gopal Agarwal, Clinical Director and Senior Consultant, Department of Pediatrics and Neonatology, Cloud9 Hospitals, Gurgaon. He has a total experience of 18 years with 25 research publications in international journals and books. He has been awarded with the Esvghan Young Researcher Award at Geneva, Switzerland. He was also awarded the Young Achievers Award by the Cloud9 Group of Hospitals in the year 2022. We also have with us Dr. Swati Popat-Bhats, President, Early Childhood Association and Association for Preparatory Education and Research, Podar Education Network. She leads 490 preschools globally, in fact, more than 490. Having coined the term Kinducation for early childhood teachers and parents, she emphasizes education tailored to young children's developmental needs. She's also an expert on the global think tank of Kidsania. Welcome to the show, all of you. We'll start with Ramya. Ramya, schools are increasingly embracing digital tools for teaching. Where do you see the line between meaningful digital learning and unnecessary screen exposure in classrooms?
Sure. So I think the crux of that line, as you call it, for me would lie in starting from pedagogy rather than starting from the tool. So if as a school we are able to say that, okay, this is, or as a teacher, we're able to say, this is what I'm trying to teach today. For teaching this, what all do I need? And I may need different things. I may need the physical world around me. I may need a discussion. I may need children to do something. And I may need technology. So if I'm clear about what is the concept I'm trying to bring out, for that, what all do I need? We will automatically find that one, technology is most impactful only for certain things, not for everything. And two, we are actually leveraging the power of technology where it is impactful. When we start using it simply as a tool or start thinking about the tool first, then I think we end up missing both the points. So that's where, I think starting from pedagogy and going into technology as a tool, to me, would be the place where that blurring, as you said, is minimized, or where the impact of digital learning is seen in the full way. And as we go along, happy to share more examples or whatever would be helpful.
Right. Coming to you, Dr. Agarwal, from a medical perspective, what are the short-term and long-term health impacts of excessive screen time on children, particularly vision, sleep, and brain development?
First of all, thank you, Times of India and Saraswati for inviting me to be a panelist for this very important panel discussion. So we, as parents of kids, we also face this issue. We have to accept this screen time and digital technology have become a part of our life now. Now kids and young children are actually growing up with laptops and mobiles and computers. Without that, we cannot imagine life. So we also have to face the side effect of that. First of all, we need to define what is excessive screen time. That's very important. That's initially used to be subjective. Now it's objective. So WHO has come up with a guideline in 2019 which says that any screen time less than 1 year is not recommended. So no sedentary screen time for less than 1 year old kid. Beyond that, 1 hour screen time is acceptable. We have our Indian Academy of Pediatrics guidelines 2021, which recommends guidelines for all pediatricians. That says less than 2 years, we should avoid screen time. 2 to 5 years, we should avoid screen time more than 1 hour. So 1 hour is the limit for 2 to 5 year old, and more than 5 year old, 2 hours of screen time. That again, beyond that age, when once we go to the teenage group or a dicey group of 9 to 12 year old, access to internet, it should be monitored. So quantity and quality also matter. And why it is important? Because there are side effects to it. So if we talk of impact on health and other behavioral issues, the most common and ignored is obesity. So this is a proven science already. There is evidence that any screen time more than 2 hours will actually lead to obesity. Why? Because there will be decreased physical activity. There will be increased intake of high calorie and low protein diet. And probably you will get some food advertisements which will tell you that this is a food which you need to take. Probably by getting biased, kids tend to eat that food. So obesity is one thing which is a byproduct of screen time. Second, very important is sleep disturbance. There's blue light emissions from screens, active like mobile and laptop, which normally we don't tend to see, but that affects our melatonin and it actually disturbs our sleep. Suppose you go look at screen and you go to sleep, probably you'll have disturbed sleep because of that hormonal imbalance, and you'll have short sleep duration. What that will impact your next day working capabilities also, and probably you'll become more irritable. So probably somewhere down the line, everything is related to screen. You'll have impacts on the screen which you'll not realize early on, but probably that will have an impact on your day-to-day quality of life. Third, very important is vision. The blue light which emits, it actually might impact the retina. We don't know the actual impact, but probably because of increased, uh, because of less blinking of the eyes, the dryness actually increases. And because of that blue light and short wave ultraviolet radiation, they'll have some impact on the vision also. And it's a proven thing that more screen time, it will have some impact on the refractory errors, myopia, though distant vision is problematic. That is very common and it worsens with more screen time. Last, very important is cognitive development. Attention span of kids who have more screen time actually is quite less. They become very irritable. They become hyperactive. And post COVID, I think if you have dealt with kids, because we deal with them day in day out, we have seen that the risk of autism, the incidence of autism and attention deficit hyperconnected disorders actually went up very high. Although there is a declining trend over last 1 year I've seen, but 2021 to 23, I've seen lots of kids because of increased screen time and lack of social communication. There were lots of behavioral issues. So probably we should have looked at all these issues, and ultimately what will impact is the scholastic performance. All these kids will go on to school and they'll have poor performance, which ultimately is linked to more screen time and lack of social interaction. So I would suggest there are short and long-term impacts, but if you limit your screen time of your kids to what guidelines recommend, probably you'll do well.
Thanks a lot for such a detailed explanation of the behavioral and health impacts of excessive screen time on school kids. Thanks a lot for that. And I'm sure our viewers will definitely listen to the warning signs as well as, be more careful
Yeah, yeah.
about
So
sticking
there's
to the
lots of evidence
guidelines.
to it, and there are lots of guidelines coming up in developed worlds, and they have come up with strict guidelines because they're converting into from guidelines to rules now and laws now, because they know that we are facing the issue, which is upfront in the front of our eyes, and we have to face it later.
Right. Dr. Vats, coming to you now from the parenting perspective, parents often feel guilty either way. Too little screen time may hamper digital learning, too much may cause behavioral issues. How should they redefine healthy screen use at home?
For parents to understand that balance is the only way out in anything that you introduce to your child. Screens became a necessity during the pandemic. And then after that, we are now telling people stay away from screens. So we need to define balance when it comes to parenting. Uh, we are slowly turning children into container babies, which means they are sitting and watching something in one place. Then from there, we are putting them in a car seat. Then we are putting them into a eating seat, and everywhere they are faced with these screens. Now, because of this, their attention span is decreasing in the classroom, because when they are on a screen, they can swipe and change what they are watching. Whereas in a classroom, they can't do that. So their attention span has come down, and parents need to understand that the more activities they expose their child to, a book, talking to somebody, and then watching a screen, all these three activities will give the child an idea of how to interact. That means an interaction with a screen is very different when I'm interacting with a human being, and when I'm interacting with a book, it's completely different. Number two, what parents need to understand is children are not understanding communication skills, because screens are all one way. You in a conversation, you need to wait for the other person to complete what they are saying. You need to wait for your turn. You need to understand what the person is saying and then respond to it. All these skills are getting sidelined because children are watching too much of screen, which is a one way traffic. And if you don't like something that's coming on the screen, you just change the channel. So again, parents need to watch out for these things. That is my child facing communication issues, because communication issues like this will hamper the child's social development. And most importantly, children's physical skills have been hampered, because they are sitting and watching screens all the time. The required balance skills, or standing, walking, jumping, all these skills are getting ignored. And because of this, they are not able to sit and do an activity. They are not able to hold a pencil or a crayon properly. So, a vast array of developmental delays or developmental issues are happening because of the screen addiction. One thing that parents need to realize is that emotionally also they are using screens to pacify a child, or to engage a child, or to assuage a child's fears. And this is creating another big monster, because now a child feels that if I have an emotional need or if I have a bodily need, I shouldn't go to a parent, I should go to a screen. Now think of
Oh,
this generation growing up. Yeah, as this generation grows up, see, for example, I was bored, you put a screen in front of me. I didn't want to eat food, you put a screen in front of me. I was crying, you wanted me to keep quiet, you put a screen in front of me. I was crying when you gave me an injection, you put a screen in front of me. So every time I needed an emotion, I needed to connect with another human being, you put a screen in front of me. Think of this generation growing up as teenagers. Whenever they will have a need, they will go to an addiction and not to a human being for support. So there are large issues, long term issues. And once parents realize this and teachers realize this, they will understand that it's not about whether to give a screen or not, it's about balance. When to give a screen, how much to give a screen, and what to give on a screen, because content also matters.
absolutely. Very, very interesting observations, Dr. Bhatts. This thing about, being always connected to a screen during times of emotional anchoring. Uh, the long-term impact of this trend, this habit, which is being inculcated from a very, very tender age, that is something that parents also need to be aware of. Very, very interesting and crucial observation. Now, well, I'll move on to Ramya again. Ramya, do you think online during online classes, are camera on classes necessary at all ages? How can schools redesign tasks? Say, printables, hands-on outdoor prompts to cut minutes on screen?
Yeah. So firstly, Saswati, of course, post-COVID, in the core of schooling, online classes have reduced significantly. I think they are being used more selectively when there might be some band or some heavy rains or something. It's being used selectively. However, yes, in the outside school classes after school, both academic co-curriculars, they are used much more. Now, whether you take so I want to respond to this in two parts. When you are in an online class, I do believe that camera on plays a very important role for the teacher to connect with students and also understand what the students' response is to various things. But fundamentally, what part of your work itself with the student should be online, as you rightly said, and what can be done through various other means. And there, I would go back to the idea of teacher competencies and pedagogy. So when you look at what are the things a teacher needs to think about while designing a class, it starts right from what is the subject concept I'm trying to teach. Where does my class stand with respect to, or where does that individual student stand with respect to those subject concepts? If there is a gap in understanding, which concept do I need to go back to bridge that gap before I move forward? To do any of these things, how best do I introduce a concept? What is my entire lesson plan, starting from introduction to getting into the concept in detail, to having the right reinforcement of it? How do I then assess whether the students have understood the concept, etc.? So this entire pedagogical cycle has many teacher competencies that are important as part of it, whether it is subject understanding, whether it is lesson planning, student assessment, the right activities, and so on. Now, once the teacher is competent on each of these things, the teacher is able to think much more clearly, where does technology come into each of these parts? And as I said earlier, if you're in a physical classroom, where does your screen technology come in? If you're in an online classroom, where does the synchronous online piece come in? And where can I use other things? So, for example, even during COVID, my daughter was lucky to have an outstanding teacher who would actually run an online class where out of 1 hour, hardly 15 or 20 minutes would actually be on screen. In the remaining time, the teacher would have said, okay, now you go around your house and do this particular activity. And now, after 10 minutes, you come back and show what you have done. So, 10 minutes are moving around the house, doing a bunch of things, coming back and showing the activity. Then you're spending another 5 minutes on the screen, again going back and doing another activity and coming back and showing it. Now, the point is that this
Very
can happen.
intelligent way of using the
Yeah,
screen in a
very
balanced manner.
intelligent way of using it. And this can happen only when the teacher has that end-to-end set of competencies to say, okay, this is how I want to design my lesson. So both to your earlier question on, how do we use technology well in the classroom and how do we use technology well online? For me, it goes back to teacher competencies and pedagogy, where technology then becomes a powerful tool rather than being the first thing that we think about.
Right, right. It has to be a very fine act of balance, as we all would agree, I'm sure. Yeah. Coming back to you, Dr. Agarwal, do you think blue light glasses actually help? If you could share the simple rules that work in terms of distance, lighting, and seating, and the red flags that mean see a doctor.
Yeah. So there's something called computer vision problem syndrome that is related to eye or vision problems which are induced by screen time. like refractive errors, myopia, astigmatism, dryness of the eyes, irritation, and all that. There have been some evidence. People started advertising usage of blue blocking lenses, but there are controlled trials on that. People have uh, randomized people into blue blocking lens and the normal clear lens. And believe me, on well-controlled trials, there is no evidence. There is no difference in it. I feel personally, I feel it's an eye wash. You tend to use more the particular lens, and you tend to use more screen time. Not only vision, it will have impact on other parts of the body, which I've already discussed. So I feel there is no evidence, and there is no strong data on that blue block light has any effect on the vision or problem. Probably we should avoid screen time. That's the whole objective should be. Yes, there are simple rules to protect your eyes and also the posture. Sometimes we tend to stoop forward to look at the screen. Probably you should be going back and sitting straight. You should have your foot and arms rested properly. The simple rule of thumb is when you are doing a task from a desktop or a laptop, you should have a distance of arm's length. That is almost a 2 feet distance. And if from a smartphone, it should be at least a foot distance, like 12 inches gap should be there. Ideally, it should be 18 inches. Take the eyes off for 20 seconds off the screen and look at something else at 20 feet away. It's very useful and followed worldwide. So 20 minutes of screen time. After that, take a break of 20 seconds and look at something away 20 feet away. That will actually help reduce the strain on the eyes, and that will probably reduce the error. And second very important thing is you should blink your eyes frequently. When you look at screen, you tend to naturally tend to avoid blinking because you're looking at something else in attention. So probably if you blink very frequently, you'll have less of dryness of eyes, and that is a very good exercise to prevent refractive errors and dryness of eyes. Reflex signs, I would say, if you feel there is discomfort in your eyes after watching screen, or if you feel there are frequent headaches. Sometimes we tend to forget that because that has an effect on our hormones also. If you have frequent headaches with dry eyes, and if you feel that your refractory error, suppose I am using a specs with a power of -4, and every 6 months to 1 year, I need to change my power to -6 and -8. If I'm going down the hill very fast, probably you should think of reducing your screen time. So these are the reflex signs as far as vision are concerned. I will definitely be more careful.
Uh, Dr. Watts, younger children imitate parental digital behavior. We all would agree on that, I'm sure. What would be your foolproof template for families when it comes to using digital devices at home?
So I always say have rules when it comes to digital devices. The Early Childhood Association is releasing a cell phone agreement. And it is very important that before you give a cell phone to your child, even your own cell phone to play with, there should be some rules defined. The child should know that if you want to play with this cell phone, then there are these rules. So age wise, from age 3 to age 21, we have made cell phone agreements that parents can make with their children. Now, the simple rules can be no cell phones during meal times. So, whatever is your work as an adult will have to be wait, because there should be no cell phones during meal time. So, children should not see you using a cell phone when you are eating. Number two, no cell phones in the bedroom. So, which means do not take your cell phone with you when you're going to sleep. You can create the bedroom for cell phones where everybody keeps their cell phones, put them to sleep, and then go. Number three, very importantly, we teach children a lot of rhymes and songs about useless things. Like, for example, 3 year olds are taught rhymes about the traffic lights. Now, which 3 year old is going to cross the road on their own? Or which 3 year old is going to drive a car that they need to know about traffic lights? But instead, if you were to teach rhymes and songs about screen safety to children, for example, if you're watching a screen, take a break. If you're watching a screen, take a break. or hold the screen far, not close to your eyes. If you're going to sing all this to children right from early childhood, think of the habits that you are going to put in your children and the awareness that you're going to create for them to understand that this gadget comes with certain rules, this gadget comes with certain precautions, and I have to always be careful about that. I think consciously and unconsciously, we need to imbibe certain behavior when it comes to digital screens. I also tell parents that when you are using Facebook or any social media, practice parent muttering. Muttering means you know your child is sitting next to you and is watching you use social media. You should talk loudly and say, I'm thinking of putting this photograph on my Facebook page. Let me think about it. Should I actually put this photograph or not? What can be the harm that can be possible? Let me think about it. I don't think I should be putting this photograph on my Facebook page. So when children hear you making these decisions, it becomes a part of their psyche that I too need to think before I put things on social media. Because if they just see you putting things randomly, have you seen, sometimes you see parents in restaurants clicking photographs of food and then immediately putting it, then they ask their child to pose near something. So we need to give children role models to follow. We can't blame them for the kind of habits that they have developed, because the human brain learns by imitation, and adults are the people that children imitate the most. So whether it is teachers, whether it is parents, it's you that the child is going to imitate. So by doing simple things every day in your routine, you will be able to inculcate better habits in young children.
Right. Very, very useful suggestions for parents, Dr. Bhatz. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Coming back to you, Ramya. So this is one of my favorite questions for this entire conversation. If you would, if you had to give schools one golden rule for balancing technology with traditional learning, what would it be?
So my one golden rule, and I may be fully biased over here, is go back to the teacher. So long back, when it is when for example there were gurukuls, the teacher might have been teaching with leaves and twigs. At some point, teachers started teaching with pen and paper and blackboard. At some point, teachers started teaching with technology. Teacher is still there, long back and now also. And somewhere when these transitions to, say, pen, paper, blackboard have happened, maybe they have still been at a level where they don't have some of the characteristics that Dr. Gopal, Dr. Vats described of, addictiveness, of, delegating things to them which are not meaningful, etc. But technology somewhere has those characteristics, as a result of which I think some schools end up relegating teacher competencies and pedagogy to the background in favor of technology. I think going back to teacher competencies and going back to the core of pedagogy will automatically ensure one, balance, but two, also using the full power of technology. I think by putting technology in front, we actually don't use it where it can be truly powerful. I think there's a lot of power in technology, but the competencies of teachers need to be built towards using it in the right manner, and pedagogy understanding where the teacher is thinking about the pedagogy in an end-to-end manner will allow them to use technology in the best possible manner. So that would be my golden rule. The teacher remains the center of education, and thinking about teacher competencies, thinking about pedagogy first, technology as a tool to support that will take care of all aspects of this.
Absolutely, absolutely right. You know, that, going back to teachers, and then also just the way you, shared the anecdote of your daughter's teacher during the COVID. So the teacher was there, but and technology was also there, but that was the most intelligent use of technology, right? Dr. Agarwal, I think not only me, but all parents should have, will want to know this from you. Binge eating, binge gaming, late night scrolling, tantrums, falling grades are the problem cases. When should parents seek clinical help? And what at home screening checks are realistic? This is something very crucial for parents to know, and I'm sure all our viewers will want to have a very clear and surefire answer to this question.
So, Saraswati, this is very important. I think we all have to face. My daughter is 5 year old. Probably I'm not into that stage where I will see all this current in near future. But teenage kids actually get into internet gaming addictions, and probably we all know that's a mental disorder. This all stems out from unhealthy use of social media or digital screens. Okay, so we all have to accept it, but only thing we have to balance that with so that it doesn't go out of hand. Suppose you see a kid compulsively uses social media and craves for it. Suppose you ask her to reduce it and stop it, and she actually becomes quite aggressive, violent, and she is actually you feel that she's not able to control herself. Probably you should think maybe probably your kid is actually addicted to social media or games, and you should seek professional help. There are professional medical health consultants nowadays who actually counsel kids regarding how to reduce screen time. Just saying no to the kid will not work. You have to accept that. There are ways to bypass that, and there are ways to gradually reduce it. So first, very important thing is avoid introduction to screen as late as possible and avoid it. Once they're used to it, probably anyone might face an issue with the kid. And uh, consequential of all these issues there will be impact on the scholastic performance or school academic performance, because that's a byproduct of our daily life routines. Media addiction also is like sometimes attached and seen with hyperactive disorders. Kids, even teenagers, we know they go into depressions, and probably they have anxiety disorder also. The moment you feel that baby is behaving abnormally, and sometimes very red flag sign is self-harm. If she's harming herself, probably you should be like you're dealing with something serious. So I would say anything which is depressive, anxious, hyperactive, aggressive, violent behavior and self-harming, you are dealing with a kid who needs medical help. Very important and most important, which normally we don't try to discuss, but the one which we deal with is cyberbullying. Teenage now and probably later on will face this issue. There'll be cyberbullying because they're exposed to social media nowadays. Facebook, although the limit is 13 years, probably, but we know that kids 11 to 13 also go to social Facebook. So probably there'll be some issues with cyberbullying, which will have an impact on their emotional outburst and also their emotional content, also the way they deal with the parents. Just few points on what kids parents should do to have a screen or to have check on the so the kids don't go out of the hand. There should be some fixed digital rules, as Dr. Swati already pointed out. You should have digital screen free area, bedrooms, washrooms, uh, dining areas, and particularly kitchens, and definitely cars where you are moving around. There should not be any digital content. Okay. There's something called digital fasting time also. So there should be defined hours of in a day where there is a family time, and you should not be using any form of digital media among the family members, all the family members, and that rule should be known to each and every family member. You should balance your act in such a way that you have more of, suppose you're using a game, there's a game time. The game should be said that there should not be digital usage of mobile phones and playing a game through that. It should be purely off digital screen. You can also monitor your screen time with your kids by using various apps available, or anyways, mobiles also have screen time usage data. So probably that will tell you that how much screen time the kid is having. Last very important is 2 hours before bedtime, you should avoid screen time. So that will have a digital free time. Probably that have very good impact on the sleep also, and probably the next day routine and daily routine will be quite good. So these are the few take-home tips and screening which I would suggest every parent should go and should follow. There's a very important concept I heard few days back from my one of my discussions. So there's something called screen time and green time. So we have to balance screen time and green time. Suppose you go walk into nature, you walk around with your kids around, and the way you behave, kids will follow you. So if you are into more into digital screen, kids will follow that. So if you follow green time, probably kids will follow into nature. So balance screen time and green time, you'll have good environment at the home.
Very, very valid points and takeaways for parents. Now, Dr. What's coming to you, apart from setting rules at home, digital rules, usage of digital devices, rules for them, and also social media usage, there are other subtle ways of communication and parental behavior through which children can adopt a very, very healthy pattern of using media, digital media. So, what should be those subtle hints that parents should be sending across to their kids, apart from the ones that we already discussed about setting rules and about also maybe digital etiquette, cyber safety. Apart from these, what are the subtle ways, subtle behavioral patterns that parents can help kids imbibe
Okay.
in their daily routine and through their daily interactions?
That's right. So we all spoke about rules and safety, etc., when using screens. But I think children should also see us not using screens, see us enjoying other activities as much as screen time. Because what has also happened and which is being ignored is that our children are watching us being more happy when we are on screens, and they are not seeing us happily doing other activities. So children should see a lot of joy and happiness in reading books. So, as a family, you should be spending more time reading. As much time as we are spending on screens, there should be time delegated for other activities. Night walks, after dinner time have completely stopped in our country. It used to be, we grew up as a generation where our parents used to go for a walk in the night. And there are so many things you can do at that time, watching the stars, seeing the night life, etc. So, and nowadays people are living in gated communities where there are enough spaces to walk safely, etc. So that those kind of things need to come back. Playing board games, we tend to also play games on mobile phones, which has made children realize that games are to be played only on a screen, but they have not seen us, parents or teachers, playing games without screens. So I think that also needs to have a comeback in our lives. There are so many games that help us play as a family, whether it's cards, whether it's just the snakes and ladders, or something as silly as the seven stone games where you play as a family, and there's a lot of physical activity, etc. So, when we talk about keeping children away from screens, it's not just about creating rules and regulations and safety features. It's also giving children an understanding that there is a life beyond screens, and that life has not been replaced by screens. More,
Developing that culture
yes,
of no
yes.
screen times.
Absolutely. I would, in fact, appeal to more restaurants that you should give 10% off if the whole family that comes in your restaurant keeps their phones away. So, because if you notice, the whole family is on the phone till the food comes. And what will the child do then? So I feel if we make this a part of life, where we kind of make it rewarding, that if you don't touch your screen, if you don't bring your screen, then you get this. If that comes into our way of life, whether commercially, as a family, as a school, as part of education, I think children will grow up understanding that this is just one part of my life. It's not my complete life. And that, if that's brought back into fashion, we will all become more conscious about what we are doing with screens, and our children will follow suit, and they will understand that there are just like there is playtime and dinner time, then there is screen time. Right now, screen time has replaced all the times. So if it's dinner time, it is screen time. If it is reading time, it is screen time. So it is very important for us to demarcate now times in our day where there are no screens. And we should be rewarding children and ourselves for that.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Butts, for such an innovative way of such an innovative tip for parents and also maybe for other institutes to help families wean themselves off
Absolutely.
screen. So this conversation has brought out very, very interesting and crucial points about not only how to manage screen time for school kids, but also about developing a culture where kids learn to enjoy no screen times. They learn to enjoy green time, not only screen time, and also how teachers and educators can intelligently balance the usage of screen among their students. Thanks a lot to all of you for such a meaningful and insightful discussion on this.